pleased to know that I took 10 slides from what was probably a 35 or 40 slide deck that we presented to the Metro Texas Association of Realtors a few weeks back. So we're going to get the condensed version.
And Tony, if we can, I see both John Nix and Joe Chapa in queue.
Yes, I told the host guy to let him in as a panelist, so they should be in shortly.
Super. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
I've been playing with my lighting. That's a little better.
There's a device that I know I need to perhaps look at. Amazon sells these soft lights that you can add to your iPhones or cameras that are circular. You can attach to the top of your laptop and add additional background lighting.
I've seen those. I'm having to rely on an old-fashioned lamp in front of me.
About my face is about a foot because I finally broke down and got a stand-up desk so I don't sit down all day in the dining room. But my face is now about a foot and a half from a brand new, very bright light fixture.
Oh.
Not ideal for my eyes, but it does help with being able to see my face. I also want it known that this is a Diet Coke in the koozie and not an alternative adult beverage.
So you say.
Well, it would have been painful to pour beer in there or something, I guess, but that's for Monday Night Football when we're done.
예, 존 닉스랑 조세프 차파도 패널리스트인데. 네. 이 챗 메시지가 이렇게 그래서 존 닉스. 네, 존 닉스 맞아요? 오케이. 네, 알겠습니다. 예, 네네네, 예, 오케이, 예.
Okay. All right. I got it.
I'm sorry, I thought I was on mute. I called my host tech guy to let Mr. Chapa and Mr. John Nixon as a panelist. So we're all here.
I was worried.
Yeah. We're all here. And Joe Lopez ran the PowerPoint slide, so obviously he's got the hang of it. So I'll turn this over to Joe Lopez. Now you've got the whole thing, so you start whenever you want to start. So it's all yours from now on. I'll just mute and just shut up from now on.
I'm on. Can you hear me?
I see him.
I can hear you, but you're not on video.
I don't have a video.
Oh, okay. That's fine then. That's fine. As long as you can hear. Okay, we're good, John. Thanks. All right, Joe, I think you're on.
Yes, and we have a few more minutes if we want to wait for the hour, if we may.
So Joe Chapa, question. Do you want me to keep my video feed going even when I'm done? Or should I just go to name only like Mr. Nix and Mr. Chai?
No, keep it going because it'll be a small square to the side anyway.
Okay.
You know, once the presentations come on, you know, we all go to the side of the top, and there'll be small squares, and it'll be important as we get at the end, I think, to the question Q&A.
Gotcha.
There, so
That's fine. And one last
Glad you
thing.
asked that because I assumed we would turn ours off. So I'm glad you clarified that.
You and I seem to be on the same wavelength, Dr. Slako.
Uh, Joe,
yes, sir.
after I get through with these opening comments, do you want me to just say, and now I will turn it over to Chris O'Brien?
Yes, and then the only question is whether when Chris finishes, whether it goes back to you or whether Chris just tees it up for Dr. Slako.
Yeah, just
think
do
it-
that. We can tee
I think
each
it'd be
other
easier
up.
for Chris just to tee it
Yeah.
up.
Okay, that's fine.
And I'll
That's
do
fine.
the same for you, Joe.
Okay, that's fine. So then you, John, in your intro, you will say briefly who each one of us is with.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
okay.
just going to go right through the presentation that you sent
Yes.
me.
Perfect. Let's see.
Joe, you know the folks over at Avocados from Mexico. Is their CEO, am I going to pronounce his name correct if I say Alvaro Luque?
Alvaro with an accent on the A. Alvaro Luque.
Alvaro. Okay. He's not here, but I still want to get his name right.
Yeah, that's right.
Good evening to those of you who are joining us and are in the U.S., and good morning to those of you who are joining us from Korea. Greetings to all. Welcome to this event, and thank you very much for joining us. First, we wish to express our appreciation to the Greater Dallas Korean American Chamber for organizing this great event and for their kind invitation for us to participate with this seminar. We have what we feel is an interesting panel with speakers who are well versed in the areas that they will be speaking about. Before I introduce them, let me mention a few points regarding the city of Irving to put matters in context and which you may find of interest. Irving is a city with a population of about 240,000. It is located in North Texas and is part of the Greater Dallas area. It is adjacent to DFW International Airport, and in fact, about 1/3 of the airport lies within the city limits of Irving. Irving for long has had a very pro-business environment. Irving has one of the oldest master plan communities in the U.S. called Las Colinas. Las Colinas is a very successful community of commercial, retail, and residential space that boasts a premier upscale work, live, and play environment. This, no doubt, has contributed to the reputation Irving now has as the headquarters of headquarters. Irving has received, in recent years, a number of accolades, recognitions, and awards attesting to its forward-looking policies and how the municipal government has been running the city. These include the pavilion at the Toyota Music Factory is the most attended amphitheater in the country as of July 2019, according to Pollster magazine, and the second most attended in the world. Best City for Starting a Career by Forbes, Top City for Information Technology Professionals by Rate Click, and the 6th most livable city in the U.S. by Smart Asset. The panelists with us today will allude to some of these and talk about Irvin's success. Chris O'Brien, who is Director of Economic Development at the Irvin Las Colinas Chamber of Commerce, has a wealth of experience in economic development, specifically in Irvin and North Texas. Dr. Krista Slako, who is President of Dallas College North Lake Campus, has many years of experience in the field of education with a particular focus in Irvin and North Texas. Joe Chapa, who is Vice President of International Affairs in Sister Cities with the Irvin Las Colinas Chamber, also has a wealth of experience in an international arena. So without further ado, let us start. If you have any questions, please offer these in the chat option, and we will try to get to as many of these as permits. And now I'll turn this over to Chris O'Brien.
Thank you, John. I appreciate it. And thank you to all of our attendees for allowing me to spend a little time with you this evening, or as mentioned in some cases in the morning, if you're watching from Korea. So nice to meet you all virtually. And I look forward to giving you a little bit of a taste of the Irvin Las Colinas market. Again, my name is Chris O'Brien. I have the pleasure to serve as the Director of Economic Development with the Irving Economic Development Partnership. This consists of the Greater Irvin Las Colinas Chamber of Commerce, the City of Irving, the Irving Convention and Visitors Bureau, as well as the Las Colinas Association. We're known as the headquarters of headquarters, with more Fortune 1000 global headquarters per capita than any other city in Texas. It is my great pleasure today to give you a closer look at why we've earned this reputation and the many other accolades that have made our city not just one of the most desirable places to live, work, play, but also visit. Next slide, Joe. Las Colinas was one of the first master planned communities in the United States, and with more than 12,000 acres, was once the largest mixed-use development in the South. Las Colinas was built around the 125-acre man-made Lake Carolyn. If you haven't visited Las Colinas, I hope you take a chance to come and visit us, with a mask on, of course, and walk around the old-world Venetian-style canals lined with walkways, cafes, and entertainment venues. Take a look at all of the retailers, offices, and beautiful waterfront multifamily residences that have popped up over the last 10 or 15 years. Next slide, please. Las Colinas is the answer to suburban sprawl. The visionaries who built Las Colinas reimagined suburban and commercial development as a complete and holistic mixed-use hub with plenty of highly desirable wow factors. They imagined a walkable community for people who want to live and work in a neighborhood where most of their needs are only minutes away with or without a car. Alvaro Luque, president and CEO of Avocados from Mexico, called it the, quote, 10-minute life, unquote, meaning everything you need personally and professionally is only 10 minutes away. Next slide, please. Irving Las Colinas' residential areas were thoughtfully built to enhance and preserve the natural beauty of the rolling North Texas hills. Outdoor recreation was a top priority in the planning. Today, there's 190 acres of parks and greenbelts. $17 miles.
Hey, Chris, can you hear me? Has Chris gone to mute?
It looks like he got bumped off. Maybe we can give him just a minute to try to get back in.
Lopez, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can.
I'm just wondering if it takes Chris a while to link back in, whether in the meantime we can switch off. Um, I thought if it's a matter of just a few seconds or a minute, we can wait. But if it's going to be several minutes, rather than keep people waiting, we may be able to switch off and then come back to Chris. It's a shame. I sent him a text, but I don't know that he's looking at his phone.
Joe, I think that makes good sense. Why don't we go on to your international business community report?
Okay. And if he comes back on, has he come back on? No. Then we can revert back and have him finish his presentation. But in the meantime, he was really only just now getting into the good stuff about how great Irving is, which is what I wanted to follow and talk about the fact that Irving is great for all domestic and national economic development. It's a great city that has grown, that is very pro-business oriented, and it continues to provide the projects and the programs that are attracting not only residents, but companies that are coming to this area of North Texas, and in particular to Irving. So hopefully Chris will be able to link back in and continue with those slides that are very interesting. So in the meantime, what I will do then is I will talk about international because Irving is also a global city. It's an important city for the number of foreign operations that are in Irving. We boast a global presence, and international recruitment for Irving continues to be a priority. We are looking at the Irving Arena, and it really coincides with the strategic plan that Irving, the Irving Las Colinas Chamber of Commerce, and the city of Irving have established. So we are looking at continued international growth. And we work, and I think Chris had begun to talk about the Irving Economic Development Partnership. This is a partnership that has worked very, very well. It's 4 organizations. It includes the chamber. The chamber leads the partnership, but it's the Irving Las Colinas Chamber. And it includes the city of Irving, the government, the mayor, and the city manager and his staff are part of this economic development partnership. And then added to that is the Irving Convention and Visitors Bureau. This is the organization that, of course, attracts all of the visitors and the conventions and the meetings and the hotel and hospitality in Irving, a very dynamic area. So it's the Irving Convention and Visitors Bureau. And the last organization that is part of the 4 of the partnership is the Las Colinas Association. And again, Chris alluded to the Las Colinas Association. Or Las Colinas is a master plan community, upscale, very successful. It's been around for about 50 years, commercial, retail, and residential. And it's run like a homeowners association with code enforcement, and they keep very strict guidelines for all residents and businesses. So it's been very successful. Now, on the next chart, if you can hear me, Joe, and go on to the next chart. I mentioned that we have about 160, it's really over 160 international companies that have operations in Irving from all over the world. These logos here, some of which you may recognize, represent companies of different sizes from different countries all over the world, from Asia, from Europe, from Latin America, India. So there are many companies. We're working very hard to add to the list that we have of 160 operations. So this is just kind of a reflection of what we have in Irving in terms of the international exposure. Now, on the next chart, I will talk about some of the countries that are represented here. You may recognize Japanese companies, but there are companies. This is only a partial list of countries. There are more, but these countries here that are shown on this chart show, for example, Japan. Japan has about 50 operations of the 160 here in Irving. So Japan by far has the greatest number of operations or activities or offices here in Irving. I mentioned Germany and the UK, the United Kingdom. They're the next group in the 15 to 20 companies here in Irving. And then the next group of France and Mexico and Australia, Canada, Finland, and India also have significant operations. Anywhere from half a dozen to 10 or 12 companies that have operations in Irving. Korea has about 4. It's really 3 companies. One of the companies that has 2 operations, but Korea has some of the companies like Samsung, a very large operation in Irving. There's another company that is called Nautilus Hyosung. They are an ATM machine company. And we have the company that has logistics for Hyundai. Hyundai America Shipping Agency and Hyundai Merchant Marine America. These are the logistics companies for Hyundai that move product all over the world. They have operations here in Irving. Now we're looking to add to this list, and we would like, of course, more companies from Korea, and whether they are small operations, startups, mid-sized companies, or large companies, in almost in any sector. And I will talk about the sectors because these companies that are here run a full gamut of different kinds of sectors. And on the next chart, if you can move to the next chart, I mentioned some of the sectors that are represented here in Irving by these companies. The full gamut, including manufacturing, although manufacturing is not a particular strength of Irving because it is light manufacturing. It's really, as Chris O'Brien had mentioned, we are the headquarters of headquarters. There's a lot of regional, national, and international operations that are based here, and they are in IT and data centers, healthcare, financial, logistics, hospitality. There's all over the place. So in any of these sectors, we would look and we would be able to provide the companies from Korea, a welcome and support. And again, these are not all of the sectors. This is just a selection of some of the sectors that are represented here. Now, on the next chart, I talk about, since I mentioned that, we would like to help companies that want to come here. Let me talk a little bit about our chamber and how we divide up our functional responsibilities, because I think John Nix mentioned that I am Vice President for International Affairs in Sister Cities, so we are working on the international side. But for International Affairs in Sister Cities as a department, there are 4 areas of responsibility that we can kind of talk about. We have a trade center. It's an International Trade Development Assistance Center, a trade center that has been around for over 10 years, about 12, 13 years. And I'll talk a little bit more about what the center does in terms of providing support to local companies in Irving, but also to foreign companies that are looking to come here. So that's one of the areas, the trade center. We also have and talk about investment, recruitment, and retention. I mentioned that we have about 160 companies. We are constantly looking to attract companies that come here, and we are also looking to retain the companies that are here. So we are in constant contact with them. We want to make sure that they are happy, that they have all services, that if there's anything that the chamber or the city or government can provide to help them, that we can make those connections. So that's the second area of investment, recruitment, and retention. The third area I mentioned here is the Sister Cities area or relationships. And I will talk more about that a bit later, but Sister Cities it's an international protocol that many of you probably have heard of. It began in the 1950s, and it's a protocol whereby there is a connection between the municipal government of a city with the municipal government of an international city. Initially began with one country, one city, or one city in one country. But there are provisions now where that can be expanded. So a city, for example, Irving has, and I will talk about some of these, 6 relationships in 6 different countries. But we can add additional cities in any given country. But let me first talk about international protocols to finish off the 4 areas that we look at in terms of the work that we do internationally. International protocol is simply the support we provide to the mayor of Irving, to the council, the city council of Irving, to the office of the city manager in Irving, in terms of the liaison and support with international government official visitors and government officials and dignitaries that come to the city of Irving, either on their own initiative or those that we invite to come to Irving, because we do that as well. And our chamber provides services to coordinate the activities of these visitors. So we just call that international protocol. So on the next chart, if you can change to the next chart, I mentioned sister cities, an important area of the activities that we in international undertake. Sister cities, again, I mentioned that it's a protocol. We have about, 6 long-standing relationships in the countries that the flags in the first, not column, but the line from left to right, there's the flag of France. And in France, Irving has a sister city relationship with the city of Boulogne-Billancourt, which is just outside of Paris. It's a suburb of Paris, just as Irving is a suburb of Dallas. In Mexico, the sister city is the city of León in the state of Guanajuato. Now, the city of León is a large city, and the state of Guanajuato is a state that is very strong in automotive manufacturing. It has 6 or 8 manufacturing assembly plants. It is also strong in the production and manufacturing of leather goods. So this is a long-standing relationship that Irving and the city of León have. And then in the middle, the flag of Finland. In Finland, we have a sister cities relationship with the city of Espoo, Finland. And the next one is Mongolia. Mongolia, of all places, we have a relationship with the city of Darkhan, Mongolia. We began providing medical missions to Mongolia many years ago, and the relationship continues. We try to do, and we use the framework of sister cities to look at trade and investment opportunities, because trade and investment opportunities are the things that provide positive economic impact to communities. So it's all good to do cultural and educational exchanges, which we do. But we also look at trade and investment opportunities, and we do that for Mongolia. And the last flag on the first tier is the UK. In the United Kingdom, our sister city is just outside London, the city of London. It is the city of Merton, where Wimbledon, if you've heard of the Wimbledon tennis tournament, Wimbledon is located in Merton. So those are our existing sister cities. But we're looking for more. And in recent years, we've been in contact. And we've spoken with organizations and countries and cities in Canada, Japan, Panama, obviously in Korea, and I will talk more about that. And the bottom tier of flags at Spain, Nepal, and Tanzania in Africa. In fact, several countries in Africa that we've talked to. But in Korea, we began a number of years ago discussions. We've talked about several potential cities that we might have interest in pursuing, and they include the city of Jeju Island, which is the island of Jeju Island, Incheon, and there's a few others. One of the things that's important is to look, when we begin to look, it's a long process to establish a sister city. It takes several years because we look at what affinity there is or can be in terms of the relationship, whether it's cultural exchanges, educational, trade, investment, or other. We do look at that. And then we begin the process that begins with that relationship, but culminates with the signing of an agreement from municipal government to municipal government, which is always, of course, following the process is not a quick thing. So it takes several years. But that's the sister cities function that we have. And then I think on the next chart, I mentioned the city of Incheon. Now, there's the Incheon Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We made contact with this organization a number of years ago and eventually ended up signing a cooperative agreement. Cooperative agreement, we call them MOUs, Memorandum of Understanding, but it's a cooperative agreement. It's a very general cooperative agreement where we agree to cooperate on projects, events, activities, and opportunities, trade and investment opportunities. So we have this with Korea. We also have, speaking of agreements, we have a number of agreements, about 14 or 15 cooperative agreements with various organizations. And we like to sign agreements with chambers of commerce. And we have one with the Greater Dallas Korean American Chamber of Commerce, of course, that is longstanding, and we cooperate on a number of things. But we similarly, we have with other chambers. We have with the U.S.-Mexico Chamber of Commerce. Mexico is an important trade partner for Texas. We have with the French American Chamber, with the Nepalese American Chamber, with the Asian American Chamber, and a number of others. So we have a number of agreements that we use to be able to help support the mission of providing trade and investment opportunities and positive economic impact to the community. So the next chart, which I believe is my last chart that I have here, I wanted to talk about a little bit about the Trade Center. I mentioned the International Trade Development Assistance Center. Now, again, this really provides two types of services that we do. The Trade Center helps local urban companies undertake international business, enhance what they're doing, or begin to do international work. Some companies are already in it. Some companies don't need our help, but some companies require a little bit of support, and we provide that support to those companies or even startups that are doing international work. So one of the aspects of the Trade Center is to help the local companies in Irving. But the other aspect is to help foreign companies come to Irving or do business in Irving or do business with Irving companies. And we do that by providing, whether we do matchmaking services or looking for clients or opportunities, or when we bring a company, whether it's from Korea or from any other country in the world, we make sure that whatever support they need, we can help them with, whether they need legal assistance, accounting help, consulting support, or other services. We at the Chamber, of course, are very familiar with the community. We have many of these businesses that are members of the Chamber, so we're very acquainted with them. It's very easy for us to provide referrals to any of these services. And then one area that has begun in recent times is that we try to provide help on soft landing for small companies that are coming to the area. Soft landing is an incubator type of assistance, and there is a facility here in Irving that is partially funded by the city of Irving. And in this facility, we can provide an option for a small company to have very low cost rent and free infrastructure in terms of telephone services, internet, meeting rooms, and other support. And then we are able to provide face-to-face assistance to some of these companies. So this is an opportunity as we look and provide and offer services to help companies, entrepreneurs, businessmen, or even large companies in Korea to look at Texas, to look at North Texas, and in particular to look at Irving. And we would be very happy to help. We want to help you. So anyway, those are the comments that I wanted to make in terms of our international efforts. We'd be happy to answer any questions. What I'd like to know at this point is whether Chris O'Brien has been able to link back on with us. Chris, are you on?
I am on.
Fantastic. So take it over, Chris.
Thank you, Joe, and my apologies to all involved. If I had done this from Irving, I'm sure my presentation wouldn't have been kicked out of Zoom, but we are where we are. Joe Chapa, or Joe Lopez, why don't we go, can you get to slide, let's say 6, the Big 12? All right, thank you. I know Mr. Chapa detailed a number of our international firms, but we as the headquarters of headquarters, we have these because of the assets that I mentioned earlier, but we're very, very proud to be home to 8 Fortune 500 and an additional 4 Fortune 1000 companies that call Irving Las Colinas home. The Big 12 consists of ExxonMobil. You all probably know many of these, but not all of them. ExxonMobil is the largest energy company in the U.S. McKesson is the oldest and largest healthcare company in the U.S. Kimberly-Clark is a multinational corporation manufacturing personal care products. Fluor is a multinational engineering and construction firm. Vistra Energy is a leader in American energy generation. Pioneer Natural Resources just built a 1.1 million square foot Class A office headquarters for their company and their employees. They're a large oil and gas producer. Celanese is a global chemical and specialty materials company with plants all over the planet. Commercial Metals is a very large steel and metal manufacturer. Michaels is a retailer of arts and craft supplies, and they've had explosive growth during the pandemic when everyone's trying to figure out how to keep the kids entertained at home. Flowserve is one of the largest suppliers of industrial and environmental machinery. And Darling is a global leader in creating sustainable food, feed, and fuel ingredients. And last but certainly not least, coming in number 775, is Nexstar Media Group, which is America's largest local television and media company. What I find remarkable about this list is just the sheer diversity of the industries represented. We believe that diversity is an essential element for sustainable growth, and we're very proud of these hallmark corporate leaders. Next slide, please, Joe. I take that as a good sign. I'm still with you. Wonderful. Here's a snapshot of some of the other corporate headquarters they call Irving Las Colinas home. We also, as Joe Chapa mentioned, we have about 150 foreign-based companies such as NCH, an Australian software company, Japanese-based 7-Eleven, and NEC, a Japanese multinational information technology company. Our strategic plan at the Irving Economic Development Partnership calls for the recruitment of targeted international markets, and Joe and his team leverage many of these companies to amplify the Irving Las Colinas story. In Irving Las Colinas, you can have a local address with global access, thanks to DFW International Airport. Our International Affairs and Sister Cities programs consistently work to build relationships around the world to support our international recruitment efforts, and for that, I'm grateful for our Joes, Joe Chapa and Joe Lopez. Additionally, we have roughly 8,000 small to medium-sized businesses in our city that provide jobs, products, and services, and help us keep our property taxes among the lowest in the state of cities of similar size. Joe, next slide, please. So we talked about the headquarters. We talked about other headquarters in some of our small companies. These are our largest employers in Irving Las Colinas. One of our top priorities we continue to hear from our business industry is access to the skilled workers they need in order to recruit and retain in order to grow their business and be sustainable long-term. One clear advantage we have in Irving Las Colinas is our central location in North Texas. That gives us access to more than 3.3 million skilled workers in a 30-minute commute time. To help these employers find the talent they need, we are pioneering research and collaborating with a coalition of educators, employers, and nonprofits to identify the specific skill requirements these companies need, and then to develop the educational and training programs prospective workers need to fill these job opportunities. The program is called Bridging the Talent Gap, and it's a model program for the nation to match education and training to the current jobs available or coming in a community. To touch quickly on some of these largest employers, Citi employs roughly 6,000 people in Irving Las Colinas. Microsoft is up over 3,000. Allstate's about 3,500, 4,000. Verizon similar. Mars Wrigley is our newest entry into Irving Las Colinas. They recently took down a 1.5 million square foot distribution center on the south side of DFW Airport, where they put 1,500 people to work. So we're thrilled to have them. Joe, next slide, please. Currently, we have a daily influx of about 140,000 commuters that come in and out of our city to work in Irving and Las Colinas. As you can see, we have about 254,000 jobs in Irving, Las Colinas, which is more than our entire residential population. So we actually are unusual in suburban areas or not the CBD where we actually swell during the daytime. So more people are coming in than leaving to go to work, which is great. In addition to being in the center of North Texas and incredible access to talent, our workforce is young comparative to many other places in the country, with the median age in Irving, Las Colinas is about 32. And our workforce is educated, with pretty much of adults in Las Colinas have completed a bachelor's degree or higher, which Dr. Slako may touch on later, I don't know. And our workforce is diverse. Irving is the 15th most culturally diverse residents being foreign born. Almost there, Joe, one more. All right, connectivity. Here's a nice view about showing what makes Irving Las Colinas all about location and connectivity. Irving residents made a major investment in DART that we believe is transforming our city into the city of the future. Presently, we have 5 Orange Line DART stations, North Lake campus of Dallas College, Irving Convention Center, Las Colinas Urban Center, Burbank, and Royal Lane. There's one coming in our Hidden Ridge development, which is a multi-billion-dollar mixed-use development. Irving Las Colinas highway infrastructure is unmatched in the Metroplex. The city and Las Colinas Urban Center are served by 5 major interstate highways and 4 major thoroughfares. And I don't know if you could see them on the screen. But highways 183, 114, 635, Loop 12, and George Bush Turnpike serve our residents in Irving Las Colinas. And to cap it all off, I'll show you the next slide, which will give you an idea of the growth we've seen over the last 20 years or so. It's an aerial map showing the growth of the urban center in Las Colinas. This is our primary office and residential mixed-use development surrounding Lake Carolyn. And since 2018, which was the second photo, additional land parcels have been taken down, and we are expecting at least 1 new corporate headquarters building to get built on a campus environment here in the next year or so. We at the Irving Las Colinas Chamber of Commerce and the partnership look forward to working with you and supporting you in any way. We can be found at our website, which is just irvingchamber.com. And with that, I will thank you for the time and your tolerance and your patience in dealing with my connectivity issues, but I will stick around for any Q&A that may follow, but I am pleased to be able to hand it off to our friend, Dr. Slako.
Thank you. I'm honored to spend some time talking about a strong resource for business growth and economic development, along with social mobility, and that's Dallas College. And I want to tell you a little bit about what a community college, we're a community college, and that means we believe strongly in human potential and the power of opportunity. So we're an open access institution. We also understand that businesses and communities, families and individuals, prosperity is all tied together, and that we can be a bridge and a catalyst for that opportunity. So we live in and are a part of our community. We are also roughly 1/3 less expensive than a public university. However, we are held to the same accreditation standards, quality standards, of all US public and private universities. And that is a wonderful way to start your college or career journey. In fact, in the United States, 41% of all undergraduates currently in college are starting in a community college. So I'm going to jump right in and tell you a little bit more about who Dallas College is. Joe? So Dallas College is a 2-year degree and certificate granting institution of higher ed. We offer over 300 degrees and certificate programs, many in high-tech, high-demand programs like IT, healthcare, cyber, construction, and manufacturing, just to name a few. We're also very pleased that we have now been approved to offer our first baccalaureate degree in early childhood education. And we hope it will be, this is just one of many to be offered locally. We're over 100,000 students strong across all of our 7 campuses, 5 community centers, and our small business innovation hub. I represent and lead Northlake campus, which is one of the 7 campuses that makes its home in Irving. We have a very diverse student population as we mirror Dallas County. So as Dallas County's population evolves, so does our student body. We are proud to be a home away from home for over 4,000 international students representing 149 countries. At Northlake, we're proud to be home for 500 of those students representing 61 countries. The average age of our students is 24, which is a little older than the traditional 18 to 22-year-old, but we welcome adult students who are starting late, starting over, or getting reskilled. However, that population, that age, is actually getting younger because almost 25% of our students are now dual enrollment students, meaning they are taking their high school courses and their college courses at the same time, thus getting them onto their degree paths and to a university or to a career more quickly. Over 80% of our students work or have family obligations, which means that most of them have to take their classes part-time, which can sometimes delay their educational path. But we are pleased that we offer many student supports because we know that success in higher education occurs outside the classroom as well. So we've expanded our mission to include things like childcare and housing referrals, support with food, transportation, and even emergency aid. Now I'm going to switch and kind of tell you how we serve our business partners. Joe. So how do we serve our business community? We do that in several ways. One, as I just showed you on the slide before, we educate and train a diverse future workforce. So here in North Texas, our pipeline puts out quite a diverse group of individuals prepared to work. We also help businesses identify and recruit talent in whatever way that sometimes it's a particular skill set, characteristics, backgrounds, educational credentials, but we can help in that way. One of the ways I'm most pleased is about how we can convene industry partners or companies in our convening center. Dallas College has a convening center which uses an approach called compression planning, which is a succinct but structured approach to bring people together to solve common business problems. So it is not uncommon for us to bring industry leaders who are competitors outside the room, but bring them together to solve common problems. Most recently, we've been working with the North Texas Commission to look at the defense industry and a particular skill set around software factories. So the top 5 leaders of defense industry in North Texas came together and we talked about what skills were needed today. What were the emerging skills that were going to be needed? What are their hiring constraints? What kind of characteristics are they looking for? Who is a successful employee? And we take all of that and it informs our curriculum. It results in creating industry certifications or other training opportunities. One of the other things that we can do very well as a public institution is we can help companies identify funding resources to provide training to their employees. Just one example is a Skills Development Fund grant, which is a Texas funding grant that allows us to provide training on behalf of partner companies who need to upskill their employees so they can advance or be prepared for the next evolution of your business. And then finally, we do work with companies developing tuition assistance programs so they can retain employees and help them grow their skills. Joe? So I want to close with how our business community can work with us, help support the important educational and economic growth in our area. So I'm going to start with things I hear when I meet with employers. What I hear is a statistic: at least 50% of employers today say they are struggling to find the talent they need for today, let alone tomorrow. The other thing I hear a lot is that you need education to better prepare students for what a real successful work experience is going to look like. What are the expectations? What are the life skills, the soft skills, whatever you want to call those? So there's an expectation for us to do better and to keep doing better. So we say, let's do internships. That is the best way that we can prepare students so that they will be successful when they're ready to come to work to you. There's also multiple mentoring opportunities for our career and technical students. Visiting your job site, your corporate office, doing field trips, speaking, having you speak to a class or mentor a student. I want to tell you really quickly about early college high school, and particularly a model called P-TECH. And in early college high school students start at their freshman year, and they simultaneously take their high school courses and college credits at the same time, so that they get their high school diploma and an associate degree in a specific career field at the same time. To do this work, we have to have business partners to work with our students to inform the curriculum, because these are, again, industry and business specific. So we want to make sure that the students that are coming out are ready to go to work or ready to continue their education. We have 18 P-TECHs across Dallas College in 18 high schools, and I believe we will have more. So we are always looking for business partners to join us in that work. So at this point, I'm going to wrap it up, and I appreciate the opportunity to tell you a little bit about Dallas College, and I look forward to any questions you might have.
Thank you, Dr. Slecko. I do have a couple of questions for various people of our panel. And Dr. Slecko, one for you. If given the opportunity, would you welcome engagement with colleges in Korea or other international locales on research or other areas of collaboration?
Absolutely, that would be a gift. We are very interested in developing more partnerships. You know, we are already committed to an international exchange. And as Dallas College, we're more prepared to do that kind of partnering, whether it's programs, shared programs, whether it's shared research projects. We are building relationships with our local universities. So the next step is to reach internationally. So we would welcome that. Thank you.
Thank you. And one for Joe Chapa. What sets the Irving Las Colinas Chamber apart from other North Texas? Well, I'm sorry, I said, got the wrong question here. For Joe, do you foresee increased activity in foreign direct investment in North Texas in a post-COVID environment?
Thank you, John. And, you know, I do see a continuation of investment, foreign direct investment. That this is not going to change. The business sector and the activity has continued. You know, for some reason, we as an international department have been probably busier than we were in the past. And now we have the ability to attend a lot of meetings, virtual meetings. So in these meetings, we talk about the matchmaking, the trade. You know, we're not doing physical missions at the moment, but we continue to talk about some of the companies that are looking. And Chris O'Brien will probably attest to the fact that it's a similar situation in terms of domestic interest on investment and recruitment of companies. But I do see international investment continuing. Yes.
Joe, if you'd like me to amplify on that, I may add a little bit to that if you don't mind. I think it's going to be industry specific, very industry specific, similar to what we're seeing on the domestic side. And one thing I've seen, and Joe can probably agree with, is companies right now are desperate to have continuity of supply chain and continuity of service to their customer. So we're seeing a lot of distribution, e-commerce facilities pop up all over the place, not just in our community where we've had a couple, which is great, but companies are trying to get closer to their customer. And there are a lot of foreign companies that we've seen, talking to the various consultants and whatnot, where a manufacturer from Asia or Western Europe, perhaps, they want to get their product into America. So if there are these shutdowns or trade restrictions and the like, that they're not adversely impacted and unable to serve their customers. So one interesting thing that I've heard recently was having 5 times the inventory of their products staged somewhere in the US. So they don't necessarily manufacture it here, but they want it sitting on the ground here so they can have a little more sustainability, a little more resiliency in their product offering to their customers.
Thank you, Chris. And also another question for you. What sets the Irving Las Colinas Chamber apart from other North Texas economic development focused operations? If you could talk about that for a minute.
Well, thank you, John. That's a good question, because I've done economic development in other places in North Texas and other places in the country. And Irving is kind of unique in the way we operate. One, we have our partnership. So we've engaged with pretty much anybody that would want to be at the table if we have a company coming in to have a holistic dialogue about relocating their company. Secondly, we are actually contracted out with the city of Irving. So instead of the city having a large municipal economic development department, they outsource that to us as the Irving Economic Development Partnership. And there's also a similar contract for the International Affairs Sister Cities element. But so we are held to account every quarter for results that we are contractually bound to deliver to the city. So that creates an unusual level of reporting, which is good for our community, a level of transparency, but it also gives us the ability to, and I'm not using the P word during the pandemic, the pivot word. It allows us to be a little more flexible and nimble in how we operate our recruitment efforts. We can do some things that cities can't do because we aren't a city. So that gives us a little bit of an upper hand. And also, when we're talking to consultants, site selection folks, or companies that want to have an enhanced level of confidentiality, we can take that project from its infancy all the way to the day it posts on the city council agenda to consider an incentive offer. And none of that has to be public information. So we're better able to maintain confidentiality with our clients than a lot of other government or quasi-government entities. Hopefully that long-winded answer covered all the bases.
Thank you.
Yeah,
And
maybe, John, maybe I can add just one quick little comment to what Chris O'Brien just mentioned, because you mentioned something very important, and that is that we work with the city of Irving based on a contract, both the international and domestic economic development. But by virtue of that, we're generally in sync with the city. So when we talk to a company or a country, or whether it's domestic or international, there's a very good chance that we are going to be speaking the same language with the city. In other words, rarely is there a disagreement in terms of what the chamber and the city are working on in terms of the project. So we're harmonized in that sense.
excellent. Joe, another question for you is the recently revised North America Free Trade Agreement placed a renewed spotlight on the digital economy, which is seen enormous growth during our current times. How has Irving and or North Texas embraced this shift?
Well, we've had to. Now, first, let me say, for those that may not be familiar, the North American Free Trade Agreement is an agreement between the U.S., United States, Mexico, and Canada. It replaces an agreement that was called North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA, and it's now USMCA. And it just very recently, over the last 6 months to a year, has been ratified and updated, improved. And the digital aspect is an important aspect of the improvement, because when NAFTA was instituted 24, 25 years ago, we were at a very early stage in terms of digital business, if it existed at all. The new agreement, of course, takes into account what is happening right now, and as we begin to go forward, digital business is the way we're going with everything. So USMCA is one aspect, but we're doing the same thing with the rest of the world as well.
And Dr. Schlicko, question, Dallas College as a system has undergone an incredible transformation, aligning resources and technologies, which you mentioned, to assist in continuing education and workforce development. What current initiatives are you most excited about?
Yes, so depending on the audience, some of the audience may know that the 7 campuses were independently accredited colleges, but united under a central office. Now we are one accredited college, Unified Dallas College, which means that everyone's collective resources are now shared resources. So our ability to reach beyond sort of our neighborhood or our city across the entire county to pick programs up that were, let's say at El Centro had strong nursing programs, well, we can make those available more easily at Northlake. Richland has strong manufacturing programs. Northlake is kind of known as a construction and construction trades campus. And so being able to share those programs across the county is really powerful. Speaking of construction, something I'm excited about that's happening at our campus is we are building a 96,000 square foot construction trades campus. And we are very excited. We have at least 3 high school partners, as well as local construction training consortium, who are ready to move in and get busy building that pipeline. We expect that to be completed 1st of June. So that's exciting. And then one last thing I would share is we have a labor market intelligence center in Dallas College, and we provide that sort of data to any of our business or community partners at no cost. And we've invested heavily in both individuals and technology to make a really powerful data-driven system. So I expect to get to use that and share what we're learning with our friends. Thank you.
Thank you. And our last question, and maybe a couple people can comment on this, but what excites you most about North Texas, and more specifically Irving? So maybe we could start with Chris on that.
Sure, there's a lot. I mean, if we kind of take Corona off the table and just talk in general with where we were beforehand, because we'll eventually get back to that level once a vaccine and therapeutics are widely distributed and available. You know, people call it North Texas, people call it DFW. North Texas is an immensely diverse, largely shielded from economic downturns because of its corporate diversity. It's experiencing explosive growth. To put it in terms everyone will likely understand if you fly on planes at all, DFW is growing at a rate equivalent to a 747 jetliner coming into DFW International Airport in Irving, landing, deplaning 350, 400 people, and then leaving and no one else getting on the plane to leave. So we're growing it, and that rate's been consistent over the last several years. So, you know, corporate companies, large corporate headquarters continue to move here. If you want to talk about the region as a whole, we've, in the last 5 years, Toyota North America moved their global headquarters here from California. State Farm has built an enormous office over in Richardson. Allstate has nearly doubled their capacity in Irving. Hilti moved their headquarters here. I mean, McKesson moved their headquarters here. You know, Microsoft in Irving, Las Colinas, it's the second largest campus in the Microsoft portfolio, second only to their headquarters in Redmond, Washington. So, you know, North Texas is an area immensely on the rise. And if California passes these additional property taxes on commercial and multifamily structures, it's going to just light a bigger fire under people in California. And we're talking to people every week from California that are trying to escape the taxes in California. So, you know, I'm excited every day because I like helping people go to work. But, you know, the meter, the line, the forecast for DFW and Irving specifically is immense. One last thing, little fun fact I'll give you. A colleague of mine did a geotag for every person in the 4-county metroplex that had a college degree. The latitude longitudinal mean, so the dead center of that block of people, was about 1.5 miles from my office in Las Colinas. And to take it one step further, because you don't always need a college degree to get a good job, right? If you take off the college degree requirement and just say anybody in those 4 counties of a working age, the latitude longitudinal mean is about 2 miles south of my office, just outside of Las Colinas, still in Irving. So we are in the middle of the country, we're in the middle of it all, and we're in the middle of the metroplex. So I will leave you that and let someone else expound on their excitement for the region.
I guess I don't know that I can add anything. Maybe I'll say some of the same things in a different way, but Chris is right. We have great living options in Irving, great work options, and attesting to that are the recognitions and the accolades that Irving is garnering here in recent times for work, for living. It's a great work, live, and play environment that has improved significantly in the last 10 to 20 years. And I think Chris had in his presentation a testimonial that someone calls it the 10-minute life, because here in Irving, you know, quality of life is important, and how much time you dedicate to your family is important. And if you can live and work, and anything that you can do is within 10 minutes, well, that provides a better standard of living in terms of your quality of life. So in a nutshell, that's what I would say that excites me about Irving.
Thank you. And Dr. Sicko?
I just had a couple of thoughts that are a little different. I love that Irving has really embraced diversity and inclusion, the diversity of people of all kinds. And, you know, it's good for business, but it's also good for people, a good place to live your life. So I love that, and that the Irving Chamber is trying to lead that and grow that for the Irving community. And then lastly, I would say we're sort of built like a large city, but we behave kind of as like a small community, and I love that.
Well, thank you, and thank you to all of our panelists tonight. And once again, we'd like to express our appreciation to the Greater Dallas Korean American Chamber for organizing this event and giving us an opportunity to talk about Irving and Las Colinas, which we all love to do, as you can tell. So with that, we will close out our portion of this conference, and thank you again.
Hi, before we all go, there's one question that's in the Q&A queue. John, if you can take a look at it. It says, Irving have any kind of incubate program for starting international company? I don't know who gave that question, but.
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about that. And I alluded to this in my talk as I quickly and very fast spoke about a soft landing opportunity or option that we have. We have an incubator. We have an operation here in Irving, partially funded by the city, but the chamber is very well connected. We have space there, and we look and offer international companies, especially small companies, this kind of an incubator opportunity. Low cost rent with all of the amenities and all of the services. And we'd like to help along the way, help the businesses that come to become successful in North Texas.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any other questions that you might want us to try to answer?
I'll just say thanks for having us. This has been fun, even if I did have a little technical glitch with my internet.
Okay. All right. Well, with that, I think we are about out of time. So we'll just say thank you again. And it's been our pleasure to be able to spend time with you this afternoon or this morning, depending upon where you're at. So with that, I'll say good night.
Thank you, Tony, and thank you, Chamber, Korean American Chamber of Commerce. Thanks.